Looking at your setup, what does it take to start from the ground up to start a CRT team, and what have you brought in to put together for this machine to come test?
Basically, the rules require you to build your own frame, your own swing arm, using non-production parts. You have to fab a gas tank and the bodywork as well. So along those rules, we basically used Suzuki GSX-R 1000 dimensions, ran through everything, and wound up with what we have.
Very good. And so, what's your power plant here? What's the motor?
Yep, Suzuki 1000.
And to go from a GSX-R 1000 up to a CRT class racing machine, what type of enhancements have you done, and what do you maybe wish you could do or would aim to do, as you continue on?
Oh, I'd say wish list would be the sky's the limit. But yeah, I don't even want to get into that list. The basics, though, is really what we did is, for the most part, refined what Suzuki had already done, made it a much more versatile and adjustable package, and that we can change a lot of things like head angle and rake and trail very, very easily, and then making sure that the bike's serviceable, and then our weight's usually down. And what's nice about this bike too is the entire time we've been focused on how to work on the bike more efficiently.
Right. I would assume, kind of one of the more daunting challenges has got to be, once you build it, then the resources that you got. I mean, you don't have an HRC garage, so you've got to be careful. Got to be efficient with your parts. You've got to be careful with your parts. I gather. I mean, how do you approach that? What you're talking about, sort of like working on the machine more efficiently. What type of approaches are you taking to do that?
Making sure that you get your hands in where they need to go a lot quicker, and components come off in larger groups, and not necessarily making things that you can remove easily and reattach easily. That way it can be serviced much more quickly, or changed much more rapidly.
So what's the motivation for you coming into CRT and to being in the series for? Do you plan to be at all 3 U.S. rounds, or what's your?
We're doing Texas, Laguna, and Indy this year.
Okay.
And it's just a love for the sport, and it's a nice opportunity. We saw a window that they'd allow us to get in and build something, and we jumped at it.
Yeah.
That's kind of how the basics.
So how would you, coming into this, did you have expectations of where you would be as of now, or where you'd be before the Austin race, and how do you sort of stack up to what those expectations were?
Good. It's been difficult with this race because we've had tests in between leading up. And the tests are great, but it becomes more difficult for us because we're developing parts in the shop. So we have to pause that and then take those parts which are 30% done, come to the track, test, and then come back. So we haven't had an opportunity to test a 100% package that we will be racing for. So that's what kind of makes it a bit more difficult.
And where's your shop based out of?
Michigan.
Okay, so you've got
a little bit of a hike.
Yeah, a little bit of a hike to everywhere, right? But
yeah.
Maybe sort of the midpoint to a lot of places. But So all goes according to plan, and y'all race at the 3 U.S. rounds. What's going to be your benchmark for success coming out of the year?
I think it's we look inward for that success. We can't look at the rest of the grid just because the series that we're in. It's unrealistic to say that we're going to be very competitive. What we have to do is really focus on improving what we do as a company, and understanding motorcycles better, and refining parts, and really just expanding our knowledge of how a motorcycle functions properly. So as long as the bike is always continuing development and moving forward, that's how we're gauging our success. And the parts keep getting better and the bike continues to get better, that's my gauge.
And being here among the factory squads, I assume you've been very busy, but have you had a chance to either look around, or have you sort of gleaned anything from being in this environment, maybe a little different than when you had the last test here, when it was, you know, a little bit more solo?
Oh yeah, and it was good having the factories here because, you know, obviously, you know, they lay down some fast laps, so it gives us a very good gauge of where we're going to be in the race, what we need to do, our improvements there. So yeah, there's some real advantages to that. In addition to that, some of the things that we came away from this test and Bridgestone found that flipping the tire to the different route now seems to work better because we have different compounds left to rear, and it's a good thing that we were here.
Very good. Good. So between now and Austin, what's you said you'll be heading back to the shop then, and more between now and the Austin race, you'll be heading back to the shop, more fabrication. I mean, what's your to-do list look like for April 20th?
Yeah, it really is quite overwhelming. Go back to the shop. We do another self-supporting tail section, a larger fuel tank. We're doing stuff with the airbox capacity. We've also got set up for a body work right now. We're going to be redoing all of that, and we've got a few other little updates, and obviously just tweaks here and there. The stuff that didn't work, make a little bit better, and the stuff that worked, make better as well.
Yeah. So, pardon my sort of ignorance, I guess, but I mean, how did you come into motorcycling in general, or into the race? What's your business prior to building this bike, and how does this kind of fit in with?
I was doing woodworking stuff before, but always racing, and using the woodworking turned into pattern making and stuff of that nature, and making our own parts and getting into the motorcycle industry that way. And went from manufacturing parts to testing parts. Then we're always at the racetrack testing parts, and then obviously it just kind of snowballs from there.
Yeah, very cool.